Welcome back to Buy or Buy. Today we're looking at the 2004 to 2008 Audi S4, the one with the 4.2-liter V8. On paper, it's an absolute dream. You get awards 10 Best V8, all-wheel drive, an understated sedan or wagon body, and a used price that makes it the cheapest V8 German sports sedan you can buy. But listen, that cheap price is exactly the trap. This one's a buy. In fact, today we're strapping on our gloves and heading into the operating room for a series of mechanical autopsies on several alluring, depreciation-hit European performance cars. We're going to look at the unflinching reality of what it actually costs to keep these engineering marvels on the road. Here is our mechanical audit for today. We'll start with the broader used performance car trap, then do deep dives into the Audi S4, the BMW M3, Volkswagen's VR6 and DSG combo, and finally, the Mercedes M156 engine. We'll wrap it all up with the proactive maintenance mandate. Let's get into it. Section 1, the used performance car trap. High horsepower, higher repair bills. Profile-wise, we're looking at buyers seduced by a cheap V8 badge who simply haven't priced the maintenance, which is exactly who this explainer is for. You see a high-horsepower German sports sedan sitting there for the price of a used economy hatchback. But here's the brutal truth of automotive engineering. A car depreciates, but its specialized parts and the intensive shop labor required to fix it absolutely do not. Bottom line, the purchase price is just the down payment. The repair bills are your ongoing mortgage. Section 2. Audi S4 timing chain trauma, specifically looking at the B6 and B7 generations. Here's your spec hook line. A 340 horsepower V8, quattro all-wheel drive, and a bargain price hiding timing chains at the back of the engine. The B7 S4 is a bet. Now, we gotta look at the gems and give credit where it is absolutely due. This 4.2-liter V8 is genuinely glorious. I mean, it was awards 10 Best Engines winner in 2004 and 2005. It's got a spine-tingling top-end whale, an awesome 340 horsepower, and quattro traction wrapped in an understated body that flies completely under the radar. When it's healthy, it's a wonderful, fast, all-weather sleeper. And bonus, because it's port-injected, it totally avoids the intake carbon problems that plague later direct-injected engines. But here are the issues, critical issues. This right here is the whole story. Look at the hilarious discrepancy on this slide. The official database explicitly claims both timing chains are at the front of the engine. Any mechanic who's wrenched on one of these will just laugh at you. The reality? Audi shoved the timing chains at the exact rear of the engine, jammed right up against the firewall. Why does that rear placement matter? Because one of the guides is plastic, and it gets brittle. When a broken piece jumps the chain, it bends valves. The tensioners collapse, and cam adjusters fail, especially on sludged, oil-change neglected cars. You'll hear a cold start rattle as a warning, but you can't properly diagnose it without pulling the engine. The full chain service is a massive engine-out job that commonly runs $4,000 to $8,000 or more. That's on top of moderate issues like oil consumption from rings and valve seal leaks, plus the general expense of an aging Audi V8. Owners are warned not to expect much past 120,000 miles before the big bills start. Honestly, cross-shop a BMW 335i or a well-sorted E90 if you want German pace with saner upkeep, a Genesis Coupe or 350Z for cheaper drive fun, or the VW Golf R32 if you want VW Group character with a smaller repair bill. Bottom line, the cheapest V8 German sedan is the most expensive one to keep. A beautiful, ruinous trap and a buy. Moving on to Section 3, BMW M3 rod bearing risks in the E46 S44 engine. Let's talk about Munich's legend. The E46 M3 is defined by a naturally aspirated inline-six that spins all the way to the heavens. It is incredibly pure. But just like our Audi, it hides a fatal flaw, this time lurking right at the bottom end of the block. So, what exactly goes wrong here? The S54's rod bearings are notoriously undersized for the massive output and high RPMs this engine pushes. Over time, they wear down prematurely. If they lose lubrication, they literally grab the crankshaft and spin with it. That's a spun rod bearing. The result? Heavy knocking and total, catastrophic destruction of the connecting rods and the crank itself. It's terrifying. Check out this stark financial reality. If you're proactive, inspecting and swapping those bearings and throwing in stronger ARP rod bolts, will run you roughly $1,500 to $2,500. But if you ignore it and that bearing spins, boom, you're looking at a $10,000 plus engine replacement. And hey, BMW's V8s aren't off the hook either. The M62 V8 features its own fatal flaw, plastic timing chain guides that also get brittle and snap, plunging into the timing case and forcing a mandatory teardown. Bottom line, proactive bearing and timing service on these classic BMWs isn't just a recommendation, it's a strict requirement. Section 4. VW, VR6, and DSG faults. Let's look at Volkswagen, specifically the iconic R32. You get that famous 3.2-liter VR6 engine and the pioneering DSG dual-clutch transmission. The VR6 sounds absolutely incredible, but its maintenance sheet tells a very different, very expensive story.
It happens in 3 terrifying steps. Step 1. The upper timing chain tensioner starts failing, slowly draining its hydraulic oil overnight. Step 2. You cold start the car. The chain is completely slack, and you hear this awful, harsh diesel clatter for a few seconds until oil pressure builds. Step 3. If you ignore that warning rattle, the stretched chain eventually jumps timing. And since the VR6 is an interference engine, that means instant, devastating valve-to-piston contact.
And then there's the transmission. VW actually marketed the early DQ250 gearbox with lifetime fluid. Yeah, that was catastrophically wrong. The mechatronic unit inside that gearbox is super sensitive to neglected fluid. You absolutely must perform a fluid and filter service at a strict 40,000-mile interval. Ignore it, and you're staring down a ruinous multi-thousand-dollar failure. Bottom line, fluids are cheap, but replacing complex dual-clutch mechatronics will absolutely wreck your budget. Section 5. Mercedes head bolt failures on the early M156 engine. Our final case study brings us to AMG, specifically the 2007 to 2011 models packing the massive 6.2-liter M156 V8. It's an absolute monster of naturally aspirated torque, but those early hand-built iterations left the factory with a severe metallurgical flaw. Those early engines used head bolts that are literally prone to internal corrosion. They just lose their clamping force on the engine block over time. If you're shopping for one, watch out for unexplained coolant loss, sudden overheating, engine misfires, and eventually total head gasket failure, as the seal between the block and cylinder head completely gives out. You can't just tighten them back down either. You have to remove the cylinder heads entirely and replace all the factory bolts with a later, updated design that won't corrode. It's a massive professional shop job costing anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. Bottom line, on any pre-2012 M156 purchase, verifying that this exact head bolt replacement has been done is the absolute only way to save yourself from complete engine destruction. Verdict: the proactive maintenance mandate. The golden rule of European enthusiast cars. Whether we're talking about Audi's nightmare rear-mounted timing chains, BMW's undersized rod bearings, VW's tensioners, or Merc's corroding head bolts, the pattern is crystal clear. Proactive maintenance is mandatory, folks. It is not optional. These cars were engineered to perform at the absolute limit, and keeping them there requires highly specialized upkeep. Yes, the purchase price has plummeted due to depreciation, but the cost of the parts and the intensive, highly skilled labor, that never depreciates. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. When you're staring down that temptingly cheap German super sedan, ask yourself honestly, are you truly prepared to afford the maintenance required to keep it alive? Or are you just buying the badge? Do your homework, budget for the catastrophic flaws, and remember, in the world of depreciated performance cars, ignorance is by far the most expensive option. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep your eyes wide open out there.